Hello children of Standard 9. Today we are going to discuss what is insulation. In this topic you will have to learn the meaning of installation, insulation and terrestrial radiation, factors affecting temperature, latitude, altitude, distance from the sea, slope of lands, winds and ocean currents. Meaning of insulation. The sun is constantly radiating heat energy into the space in the form of electromagnetic radiations. Those are vibrations coming from the sky, and this is known as solar radiation. The solar radiation that travels to the Earth's surface, and only half of the solar radiation is able to reach the Earth's atmosphere directly or indirectly. The rest is lost through scattering, absorption and reflection while passing through the atmosphere. The incoming solar radiation is that which reaches the surface of the Earth, and this is called as insulation. The amount of insulation that reaches the Earth depends on the following factors. One is the inclination of the sun's rays. Inclination means how the sun is facing the Earth. It varies from latitude to latitude. The amount of atmosphere to be crossed. Atmosphere is a layer of air that surrounds the Earth. And also water vapor. The presence of it will influence how much of the sun's rays is coming to the Earth. The duration of sunshine or the length of the day. The transparency of the atmosphere. The distance between the sun and Earth. The sunspots. Terrestrial radiation. The atmosphere is not directly heated by the sun's energy. The Earth's surface being solid absorbs the heat and this is radiated back to the Earth's surface in the form of terrestrial radiation. That is, what the Earth absorbs is released back, and that absorption is called as terrestrial radiation. The air resting over the Earth's surface is heated by conduction, convection, radiation and advection. When two bodies with unequal temperature comes in contact with each other, heat flows from the hotter body to the cooler body, and this is called as conduction. Conduction continues till both the bodies have the same temperature or when contact is broken. Conduction is important in the lower layers of the atmosphere where the air is in direct contact with the Earth's surface, and the air resting above the heated surface gets warm by conduction. Convection. When air is heated, it rises upwards and creates a vacuum near the Earth's surface. As a result, the pushed air mass moves horizontally towards cooler areas and descends gradually to the increased density. The cooler mass air moves to fill the vacuum near the Earth's surface. This also gets heated and rises upwards. The process of heating of the atmosphere is called as convection. It transfers heat to various layers of the atmosphere. Radiation. Radiation is the transmission of energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. The sun radiates heat energy through the atmosphere in the form of short waves. This sun's radiation is not capable of heating the atmosphere. It reaches the Earth's surface and the Earth's surface acts as a radiating body. The radiation of heat energy from the Earth's surface is in the form of long waves, and it is also known as terrestrial radiation. After sunset, it continues to radiate heat and the atmosphere is heated. Here you can see a diagram of the various processes which I have explained. Conduction. You can see a kettle handle getting hot. Convection. You can see the rising of air, water bubbles. Radiation. That is the pan emitting heat is called as radiation. Advection. Sometimes the air mass moves from one region to another along with the winds. These winds carry the temperature and the air temperature rises or falls. This process of horizontal transfer of heat by wind is known as advection. Compression. When the air current descends, it presses the lower layers of the atmosphere. Due to this pressure and the increasing weight of the upper layers, the lower layers of the atmosphere get heated. Factors affecting temperature. The temperature of the atmosphere changes from place to place and from time to time. It depends a lot on insolation, and variation in temperature is due to the combined effect of number of factors. Let us examine some of these factors. First is the latitude of the place. There are higher latitudes and lower latitudes. When we go from lower latitudes to higher latitudes, the sun's rays become slanting. So, in the lower latitudes, the sun's rays is straight. So, the lower latitudes get more heat than the higher latitudes. This is how the latitude of a place influences temperature. The altitude of a place. When you go higher up in altitude, temperature starts cooling down. This is because of the normal lapse rate, which means that temperature decreases for 1 degree for every 67 meters of ascent. For example, it's cooler in Ooty than in Coimbatore because Ooty is a hilly area. Distance from the sea. Places lying close to the sea are moderated, their climate is moderated by the influence of land and sea breeze. Places lying far away from the sea have an extreme climate. For example, Delhi has got warm, hot summers and cold winters, whereas Thiruvananthapuram has got a steady temperature all throughout the year. Slope of the land. The slope of the mountain facing the sun receives more insolation than the leeward side. Thus, the sun facing sides records higher temperature than the leeward slopes, where the sun's rays are slanting. Prevailing winds. The prevailing winds help in redistribution of temperature. Winds coming from warmer areas, that is low latitudes, increase the temperature, and winds coming from cooler areas, higher latitudes, decrease the temperature of the area over which they are blowing. However, this is limited to the period during which they blow. Ocean currents. The effect of warm or cold currents is limited to the adjoining coastal areas and is largely dependent on the wind that blows above the current. The warm current from tropical areas to temperate area raises the temperature in the effect. For example, Norway is free from freezing in winter because of the warm current, equatorial current. The wind passing over the warm water current increases the air temperature, and the wind passing over the cold water current tend to decrease the temperature of the coastal areas.